Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for joining us for the first session, Lunch and Learn this year. This will be hosted by Sandra Abbey, who is a legacy fellow within the center. So we're super excited that she is going to be presenting over something she's very familiar with, and that's over community building and building those relationships. So Sandra, thank you so much for doing this for us, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jamie. I want to start out by just introducing myself to those who don't know me. I think I have at least in Zoom meetings met everyone here, but my name's Sandra Abbey, and I work full-time at the Gilbert, Arizona campus. That's my home base, but I have responsibilities supporting and helping to develop adjunct faculty both at the Gilbert campus, but also network-wide, especially with the online adjunct faculty. So I'm happy to be here helping out. And I just want to share a first day experience that you may know of. And you've probably seen this. I'm sure no one here specifically does this, but I've seen faculty who come in the first day and jump straight into covering their syllabus line by line, page by page, probably 17, 20 page syllabus. And they wonder why their students kind of look like this. So I'm here to say, I'm sure this never happened to any of you, but there's another picture that we can see on our students' faces if we really think about starting out, not just that first day of class, but starting out the first several weeks, and I say every single week, with building community. And our students deserve that. We're looking to develop this holistic educational academic experience that really touches the lives of our students. And part of that is building that sense of belonging and community in the classroom. I don't necessarily need to tell you all the reasons to build community, but I'll just briefly go through some of the reasons that we all know it's good. And that's one thing. A lot of our students, especially those who have come out of high school in the last few years, they have definitely a sense of isolation. They haven't necessarily built those relationship skills, and many of them suffer from various forms of anxiety. We've seen that need for student counseling increase over the last few years. So building community in your own classrooms is going to help with that. We also are always trying to build engagement and participation. Students can choose to come to class or not. You may have take attendance, you may have participation points, but it's still up to the students to feel like they're engaged and they're learning, so they want to come and participate. And then something that I know is very important to the university, following our HLC visit from last year and the work that we've been doing on student success, is really trying to increase our retention numbers. It's not, the university has been very transparent that our retention numbers compared to some of our peers are not great. They, aren't horrible, but they're not great. So that's something that we're really focusing on. And students who are successful in class, who feel engaged, who feel like they belong here, are much more likely to persist in their education. And Park University is much more likely to retain them if they're doing well and feeling this sense of belonging and community. And then we also just want to kind of foster that environment where students feel that they are, they're included, but they're also learning something. To me, it's not just about, oh, I'm included and I'm having fun, but am I actually learning something? So these are the kinds of things that I want to share with you. And I'm not saying that I'm the expert on this, but I try really hard to do these three things every single class: is set expectations, and that may be for the whole class or it may be for what's coming up next. To encourage collaboration. You don't walk into my classroom and never see students working together. At least one or two projects in every single class, the students are collaborating, they're working together, they get to know each other that way. And I'll tell you, even before I went into academia, I worked in industry, and I found that the best team building activities for teams was not to take them off to an escape room or a ropes course, although that's very fun, but actually to build teamwork. It was engage the employees in collaborating and working together to solve real problems that affect their organization or their communities. And our students are the same. We really need them to engage and communicate and collaborate with each other and feel that they're involved. So I'm going to actually skip to something that I just saw recently, but I saw it again because under different labels. This is the exact lesson planning method that I was taught when I first started teaching at the college level. And we had at a different university, this was in 2008, I went through a 5-week training program before being allowed to solo teach my first class. And the equivalent of our Transformative Teaching and Learning Center at that university had this 5-week educator training class, and they taught essentially these same 4 steps as how to plan a lesson for every single week, every single class. And so when I recently reread this article, and it's from a few years ago, but James Lang, who's the author of Small Teaching, he posted this as it was a blog post in the Chronicle of Higher Education. And even though it was from a few years ago, I just ran across it when I was kind of surfing a few weeks ago. And it really was his take on how you should have a great, engaging first day of class. And I said, I recognize this. This is how I learned to lesson plan every single week. So I recommend this as a formula to use every single week. And it starts with sparking curiosity. When I learned this, some people called it a hook, starting every single class with a hook, maybe an image like of students falling asleep in class, just as an example of a potential hook, or it's an interesting question or a statistic or a story, something to hook the students into thinking, wow, this is interesting. I want to hear more. I want to learn more. And in educator circles, this is sometimes also called an anticipatory set, right? That's how you kind of start out each lesson, each class. But next, especially in the first week of class, you want to start building community already. So you're kindling that spark that you've already started by helping this sense of belonging with the students. In the first class, this might be an icebreaker where the students work together. And it's not necessarily just going around the room introducing each other, because sometimes in a large class, that can actually get a little bit boring, and whoever's not up next has often tuned out. So it's more of a chance to make sure students are interacting with them. In my classroom that started just 2 weeks ago, it's an organizational leadership class I'm teaching here on campus. And my students had a worksheet where they had to go and meet with every single other student in the class and find out 3 specific things about that student. So there are all different kinds of things, but it got the students talking to each other and learning about each other right from that first day. In subsequent weeks, it doesn't always have to be an icebreaker type of thing, but every single class, I plan some type of activity where the students are collaborating. They're working together as a team. Maybe it's scaffolding for a project that the team is submitting at the end of the term, or maybe it's an activity just for that one learning objective. So every single class, though, I have some kind of collaboration. It's not always the very second thing after sparking curiosity, but it's always in every class. The next thing, and James Lang's article that I mentioned before really focused on this, that in the first day of class, it's important to make sure you are teaching something to the students, that they are learning. A lot of us, myself included, will spark curiosity, do collaboration, and then go through the important items in the syllabus to set expectations. And we'll say, we'll get into the content next class. But Lang stresses, you know what? Don't ever have a student leave your class without them feeling like they learned something, that they gained some value. Because if they think, oh, this class is going to be fun, but they don't learn anything, even on that first day, they may decide, you know, this is the first week, I could still drop this and add a different class that I'm going to learn more in. So every single class, try to make sure, even from the beginning, that learning takes place, even if it's one unit learning objective, something where the students leave going, oh, I didn't know that, or I knew about that, but I never thought about it in exactly this way before, or I never knew how to apply it in my own life before. So they're actually taking away learning every single class, including the first. So you're growing that fire. You've sparked it, you've kindled it. Now you're growing that fire. So you have this kind of whole turning the students loose on, you know, a whole forest of learning that they will see in the coming days. But we don't want necessarily an uncontrolled forest fire. So you do want to set expectations. And that's where I have this kind of fire ring, where I want to make sure that students know there are parameters. There are certain guidelines. Maybe it's, you know, that you need to use APA formatting, that you need to cite your sources. If you're going to be using AI, a generative AI, here's how to correctly cite it. Here's how I want you to do that. It might be, here's my late policy. If you're going to turn work in late, this is what's going to happen. Or if you're going to be absent from class, please notify me in advance so I don't, you know, worry about you. Things like that. That's the setting expectations part. So I thought this was a great formula that James Lang shared. And as I said, this is how I learned to lesson plan every single week. So it's not something that's just for the first day or even the first few weeks of class. One of the things I know after teaching for almost 20 years now is that I learn something every single time I teach, and I learn something every single time I talk to my colleagues.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so excited just thinking about all the different things that each of us can do in our class. And I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of everyone. So surely you at least took away one amazing nugget from all of this information and the discussions that we had today. So thank you. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sandra. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.